ongoing from the moment that the storm passed in the hardest hit areas, and they've probably gone through about 70% of the areas that they need to be able to check for people that are in distress. And, so far all signs have been positive. There is, of course, a lot of debris to clean up, but we will get working with that with the local communities to make sure that the roads are cleared and people can go back to their lives. As of 6 o'clock today, there are approximately 250,000 power outages reported across the state. Since the storm hit, their power has been restored to approximately 315,000, and that 250,000 number is actually a decline from what it was a few hours ago. So we appreciate the rapid attention to restoring power. Clearly, the area that has the most significant percentage outages are those Big Bend counties that bore the brunt of the storm. Counties like Columbia, Madison, Dixie, and people are working. There's no shortage of fuel. We have more than enough fuel in the state of Florida. If you're at a gas station that's not pumping it, it largely is probably going to be a power issue. Those that have generators can get that back up, or when the power is restored. But there is an abundance of fuel, and we made sure to have that gone, ready to go. Florida Department of Transportation has 224 cut and toss crews. They've been working to clear the roadways. The Cedar Key Bridge has officially been cleared by FDOT, and residents, first responders, and law enforcement can now pass. Residents should follow the guidance of the local emergency and law enforcement personnel in terms of any type of restrictions that may be on that, but the bridge has been cleared by the state. All state bridges at this point have also been cleared. There is a 15-mile stretch of Interstate 10 that is closed in Madison County, but FDOT is working on that to have that back online by tonight. We have all resources have been deployed, from urban search and rescue teams, the Florida National Guard, the Coast Guard, the Florida State Guard, Florida Fish and Wildlife. Those are going to continue until there's no help needed. In terms of hospitals, in rural areas that receive direct impacts, the facilities remain operational and open to the public, and we're happy that they were able to do that. Throughout the state, there were 10 evacuated hospitals. They reported minimal damage, and 9 of the 10 will be at full operational status within the next 24 hours. And ACA is working with the one remaining, but we don't think it's going to take too much longer after that. After the storm, Agency for Healthcare Assessment Teams must inspect all evacuated healthcare facilities which have sustained damage before they can reopen, and they are in the process of making assessments for all evacuated healthcare facilities. Our Florida Department of Veterans Affairs assisted one of Florida's federally operated VA hospitals with safely transferring veterans prior to the hurricane, and we appreciate Florida DVA for stepping up in that. Schools, 30 of the 52 school districts that closed due to the storm will reopen tomorrow, and an additional 8 school districts will reopen on Friday. And Manny Diaz is calling through the remaining school districts to try to get them open as soon as possible. We appreciate everybody's hard work. It's been a lot going on over these last few days. There's a lot to do, but I think the quick response is helping everybody get back on their feet. Okay, we're going to hear from some of the folks who've been involved in different areas of this response, starting with Kevin Guthrie from Florida DEM.
Thank you, Governor. Appreciate your continued support. I know you've taken some flack about whether or not you've been here or not, so let me go ahead and say for everybody, he's been here since 4 a.m. this morning. So certainly appreciate that, sir, for all your support. The division is boots on the ground. We are working through everything that is happening. We've completed 75%. Urban Search and Rescue personnel have completed 75% of the hasty search and primary search for the entire impacted area. So all the way from Southwest Florida all the way through to the state line, they have completed 75% of that search. Crews are still in the field working now, and they will continue to work through that. The next phase of this, as we talk about, is search, secure, and stabilize. So we'll be focusing tomorrow heavily on securing and stabilizing areas from getting any worse. We will be working with our secondary searches tomorrow, going back through all the impacted areas, especially the heavily impacted areas, to ensure that those have been cleared and there's nobody there. We are, good news story, we are not finding anybody at home. So therefore, as the governor has talked about, many people heeded the warnings to evacuate. And we, so far, have not had any reports of any unconfirmed or confirmed fatalities related to any drowning or any flooding victims of that nature. We will then start moving into the next phase of this, the recovery phase. So we will start working to do the windshield assessments and then what's referred to as the initial damage assessments with the cities and counties to determine what type of public infrastructure has been damaged and what those estimated costs will be. We'll then end up working towards what's also referred to as the individual assessments, damage assessments, and that's where we start looking at homes that have been affected, minor, major damage, and coming up with a total to then see if we qualify for potentially an individual assistance major disaster declaration. We will be submitting to the governor tonight for his review the expedited major disaster declaration, and with his approval, we will then submit that on up to FEMA tonight. So that brings you up to speed on what we've been doing. And again, Governor, I cannot say it enough. I'm sure everybody will say the same thing. Thank you for your support from through this whole entire incident. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you, Governor, for your leadership and support of your Florida National Guard. Director Guthrie, thank you again for the great work your team is doing to protect Florida citizens. As the Governor mentioned, we had the opportunity to survey the storm damage in some of the most impacted areas in Taylor County earlier today. While there, we met with local emergency management teams and witnessed firsthand a resilient community fully engaged in recovery operations. The Florida National Guard is fully mobilized in support of Taylor County recovery efforts, as well as the ongoing efforts in all the impacted counties throughout Central and North Florida. With over 5,500 soldiers and airmen deployed since daybreak this morning, we have provided support with missions that included search and rescue, damage assessment, route clearance, and this afternoon our rotary wing aviation assets are conducting reconnaissance flights across the impacted area of the storm. Since we were just there, I'd like to highlight some of the missions conducted in Taylor County. Our 153rd Cavalry Squadron is the main effort, assisted by an engineer company. This force of around 300 soldiers and airmen are conducting air and ground search and rescue, route clearance, and debris removal. As of this evening, we've cleared over 150 miles of roads in 5 counties. Part of this task force is an Air Force Engineer Squadron, Red Horse. This highly trained organization is a heavy construction unit that quickly moves debris and clears routes for our first responders. Their efforts have cleared routes for our teams to conduct door-to-door wellness checks of our fellow Floridians. And finally, our air operations is currently en route to the Perry Foley Airport to set up air operations, critical air traffic control operations. Your Florida National Guard is ready to support relief operations for as long as needed. We are your friends and neighbors, and we will be in the impact of with the communities until the job is done. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Governor, for your leadership and continued dedication to health care. And thank you, Director Guthrie, for all that you're doing here to help the state. The Agency for Healthcare Administration has employees working around the clock. Just yesterday, we reported over 1,100 calls that were made to facilities, and that's something that we're doing daily. The numbers obviously change, but we have folks working very hard on this. One of the first things we did was open up an event in the health facility reporting system, which requires all residential and inpatient healthcare providers and hospitals to submit updates on census, bed availability, evacuation, and receiving status, power outages, generator status by 10 a.m. daily, and whenever a situation changes. And we've been very happy with the reporting so far, although we want everyone to keep it up. We rely on the self-reporting for decision makings. That remains in place for all 67 counties. The agency, as the governor mentioned, the agency is currently performing assessments at every facility that was evacuated and other facilities to make sure that we can open up these facilities as quickly as possible. And we're going to continue that effort until they are all open. For health facilities with storm damage, we follow the damage assessment guidelines that are available on our website, if anybody would care to look. I just also wanted to tick off a couple of other helpful resources that we found helpful to publicize during Hurricane Ian. They're also available on our website. The Dialysis Patient Assistance Hotline is active for patients who are unable to reach their facility or nursing homes needing assistance getting patients to centers post-storm. The hotline is 1-800-823-3773. Also, Teladoc is providing free virtual healthcare services, including general medical telehealth visits, non-emergency services, and prescription refills to all Florida residents, first responders, and others directly impacted by the hurricane. To call Teladoc directly, the number is 855-225-5032. And for other info, I encourage you to look at our hurricane webpage, which is available on our website. Again, thank you, Governor, for your leadership.
Jared?
Good evening. Thank you, Governor DeSantis. FDOT's 700 deployed crew members and teams across Florida in our department's emergency operations centers have worked tirelessly through the night and all day today to bring a sense of normalcy to all the communities impacted by Hurricane Idalia. Many major bridges that were flooded earlier this morning have reopened, such as the Howard Franklin Bridge, the Courtney Campbell Causeway, and Sunshine Skyway Bridge in the Tampa region. As of 5 p.m. this evening, all state bridges have been inspected, as the governor mentioned, and cleared across the state. We are also able to announce that Sunrail service in Central Florida will resume starting tomorrow morning. I was able to survey the ground zero damage in Taylor County this afternoon and see everything firsthand. It was evident that there was a need for traffic signal restoration, generator deployment, and debris clearing, all of which FDOT is actively supporting, including additional generators being delivered tonight by 6:30 p.m. Many Floridians, such as myself, have lived and worked through hurricanes throughout the years, and it's always encouraging to see the resilience of our communities as they recover. Under the governor's leadership, we're committed to continuing that effort toward recovery and are very appreciative of the governor's consistent leadership throughout this entire event. I can't stress enough how valuable Florida 511 is as you travel through the state. Florida 511 is the place to get the most accurate and timely traffic information as you are making your way to your destination. Please go to florida511.com. And remember, safety doesn't happen by accident. Always drive safely, remain alert, and buckle up. Thank you, Governor, for your leadership.
For those areas of the state that were most significantly impacted, Governor DeSantis and myself are committed to providing all the resources necessary to get these schools back up and running and get our kids back in the classroom in person. Prior to the storm and until landfall, we at the Department of Education were in direct contact with schools around the state to ensure they took the necessary precautions to ensure student safety. The department maintains a real-time accounting of school closures and reopening on our website that is updated by the minute as local decisions are made. Myself and my staff have been on the phone directly with superintendents all day today to assess the situation in their communities and to offer our support. I was encouraged in particular by Leon County Schools announcing that they would be open on Friday, as we know how critical this is to our first responders living in Tallahassee who play a pivotal role in the immediate aftermath. Ensuring that these parents do not have to worry about childcare during these crucial moments makes a world of difference in their lives, and frankly, all first responders who we depend on during these moments, relying on childcare being provided and having them be able to do their jobs. I am also thankful for the outpouring of support from our districts that were not affected by this hurricane. As happened with Ian, many of them had volunteered resources, and we will be marshaling those resources and providing that assistance to districts as those needs come up. At this point, as the governor mentioned, at least 30 school districts who were closed today will return to the classroom tomorrow. And we continue to work with these districts, as a number of them, as the governor mentioned, at least 8 will be open on Friday, and we will continue to update that running list on our website as we work with them. These numbers are ever changing due to power being restored, damage assessments being made by superintendents, and we expect more districts to have final decisions soon. As superintendents assess the damage and share needs with us, we will continue to elevate those needs, those missions to the appropriate context. Thank you to Kevin Guthrie, as we did with Ian, just incredibly supportive in making sure we turn those around quickly so we can get these school buildings ready and get those kids back in classroom. We know how important that is. We will be diligent to ensure that these districts are getting what they need, and I plan to go there myself to make sure that we are getting those needs elevated here at the EOC to Kevin's team. If I need to get my team out there from the Department of Education to assist them with these assessments, we are ready to do that and make sure that we assist, especially the smaller districts who may be short-staffed. We know from our experience there's nothing more crucial to a child's education than in-person instruction, and thanks to Governor DeSantis' leadership, that's exactly what we will do to get these schools back online and our students back in school.
And so as of 6 o'clock tonight, there is currently one unconfirmed fatality that the Florida Department of Law Enforcement is vetting. This was a fatality involving a traffic incident, and so that is being looked at. That may end up being a confirmed fatality. It has not been confirmed yet, but that one is in the hopper and it is being reviewed. Fortunately, the search and rescue operations, the hasty searches in the really impacted areas, it's been different than what they were finding with Hurricane Ian, and that's obviously welcome news. Okay, any questions?
How many people have been reported missing?
Kevin?
So the missing person numbers are handled at the local level by local sheriffs and local police departments. At this point in time, we have no outstanding numbers of, hundreds or even thousands of people missing. We have no reports. So.
And I think it was just from speaking with some of the law enforcement folks, you did not get the same type of calls that was happening during Hurricane Ian. I mean, I remember when that storm was hitting, speaking with the sheriff down there, speaking with other folks, the panicked phone calls of people calling whose homes were filling up with water was something that was very, very ominous, and that happened relatively early on when the surge first started happening. And of course, you ended up having a number of fatalities as a result of that. And so that was something where I remember the feeling of dread that you had when you started to hear those initial reports. That has not been how this storm has been. They were not getting the same type of phone calls. The calls that they were getting were people saying, hey, I've got 3 feet of water in my living room. I'm fine, but if you guys can come help. And so that's a different type of call than one where somebody is in imminent loss of life. And so in that sense, I think that the, kind of the bad news type calls that we were so accustomed to during Ian, those really were not happening on this storm, certainly not to that level.
Governor, I know that DCF released SNAP funds a little early in affected counties. I was just wondering what the state's doing on its Medicaid unwinding policy in those counties. Are you putting a temporary pause on it? Are you moving it forward with the unwinding in those areas?
Well, as you know, DCF handles all eligibility determinations. Medicaid redeterminations, as the last time I spoke with Secretary Harris, have not been paused. If that has changed since I last spoke with her, I'll follow up with you.
And when was, just for clarification, when was the last time you spoke with her?
Yesterday.
So as of yesterday, the state was continuing the unwinding in those counties?
That's correct.
Thank you.
What are your expectations from federal government and Biden administration in the coming days and weeks?
So Kevin mentioned we're going to submit the major disaster request. We anticipate that'll be approved based on my discussions with the president, based on Kevin's discussions with FEMA, and we appreciate that. And that's going to be important, particularly when you start talking about some of these reimbursements. These are counties that are fiscally constrained counties, and so they're going to need the support for reimbursement when you're talking about some of the debris removal that's going to need to be done. I mean, these are areas that are very heavily wooded. Just driving around Taylor County, I mean, you see these trees knocked over, and it is going to require a lot of resources. And so we're obviously involved at the state level, clearing some of these public roads, but there's going to be a lot more that needs to be done with debris removal. So the federal government support will help those local communities, and then we'll probably have to step up and help them a little bit more as well. That's typically what we do when we have these situations. I know we did that with some of the fiscally constrained counties after Hurricane Michael. So.
Yeah, the comments you made in Perry about the potential of looters, and obviously that being an area where people believe in the Second Amendment. Have you heard any reports of looting so far?
Yeah, so the sheriff, the reason I mentioned that is because the sheriff had said there had been reports of looting in Steinhatchee. And, we saw a little bit of this after Ian. I think we worked really hard to send the message, and I know law enforcement there really put their foot down. But when you have situations like this, you could have people that had to flee their homes because of this, to then go in and try to loot somebody's house is really the lowest of the low. And you never know who left and who's back and everything. And so people just need to be very careful about what they're doing, because it may not end up working out well for them in a variety of different contexts. But certainly from a law enforcement perspective, our state resources are available to help the Sheriff's Department, any municipal police departments, to ensure that looters are not allowed to ransack storm-stricken areas. Thanks.
Secretary Rita,